And on today's show, how integrating deferred products can help you control when you pay taxes. Part 3 of this week's series on new tax reduction strategies with nationally recognized product taxation expert Ken Davis, CLU, CHFC, CFP, and CPA. Hi everyone, I'm Steve Savant, syndicated financial columnist and contributing author to Backroom Technician. Let's get down to business. Well, welcome to day 3, Ken. I appreciate it. And of course, we're all talking about 1040 all this week to help you maybe get to last second clients here and really bring up some issues. And if you missed the last 2 shows, and I don't want to say this from an egocentric point of view, but I thought those were great shows. It laid out the premise of what we're talking about. And yesterday's show especially, if you can get a handle kind of what's going on with AGI and MAGI, you can really help your clients. And nothing now, really, when you think about it, tax deferred products now have to be introduced into the ways of managing and mitigating taxation. I mean, this is the new play. We're finally getting our due as an industry.
Absolutely. I mean, the fact that tax rates have risen, there's now surtaxes, there's indirect taxes like Medicare premiums based on AGI. All of these things are surrounding adjusted gross income and a modified adjusted gross income. And so people are paying attention because their taxes are going up, and now it's worth taking time out from their busy activities, from their businesses, and focusing on some planning, which creates opportunities for our agents in a number of different ways. One is we have the products that create the tax deferral. We have products that can be controlled to be tax-free in the form of insurance. We have the opportunity now to reach out to enrolled agents, CPAs, other tax preparers, and act as team members, bringing our clients to them to run some of these what-if calculations. And then as they start to see the planning we can do with our products, maybe change their minds and go, wow, I didn't really realize all that could be done with annuities and life insurance products, as well as some capital assets and other types of things.
Does that surprise you as a CPA that most fiduciaries are not aware of the power of deferral and tax-free insurance products?
No, it doesn't surprise me at all. And what's interesting is both professions are ignorant. And I don't mean that in a bad way. It just means they're uneducated to certain opportunities. The CPAs have a jaundiced view of life insurance frequently because it's oversold and over-illustrated, and the things that are illustrated never come true. So it's incumbent on our profession to get a little more real about it and illustrate more reasonable numbers and be fairer in our analysis so that we can work with them. At the same time, the CPAs have to wake up to the fact that the real planning now is tax deferral. And the way you get tax deferral beyond just regular IRAs and qualified plans or owning capital assets and having unrecognized gains because they're being deferred, the big play is annuities and life insurance. There are some really nice tax benefits that, if used properly, can help reduce taxes. And so here's the opportunity for us to reach out, build the bridge, build the relationships, say, hey, I need you to do these tax projections. There's no way we can figure out what the end result is without your help. So we want you to play nice with us, but at the same time, would you please keep an open mind and look at what we can do?
Well, before we get into the insurance deferred products, I'd like to talk about, we touched this a little bit yesterday on the Roth.
Okay.
Interesting to note, most of us that are in retirement planning are now dealing with Roth conversions. We're looking at bracket bumping. We're looking at ways to artfully and as tax efficiently as we can try to come out of qualified money and get into Roths so that we can mitigate our tax issues. Boy, think if we could get into all Roth, all tax-free life insurance, maybe even reverse mortgage, and then we don't have any issues of qualified plan interdiction, we could really reduce our taxation quite low.
Quite honestly, Steve, I don't mean to be too harsh here, but I think we blew it. When this whole conversion and they opened up this whole arena to Roth conversions, the analysis in the articles I saw missed a huge point. It's not just what is your tax bracket. It's what is your effective tax bracket, your effective marginal income tax bracket, based on not only the regular tax bracket, but the inclusion of Social Security income and other elements that are based on adjusted gross income and modified adjusted gross income. Why do I say that? Because a regular IRA that is now taxed at the tail end, you're saying, well, the tax rate doesn't look too bad, it's 25%. But then when you run it through the tax software, you realize the differential is 42%. Where does that come from? That is, that additional AGI causes Social Security to be included, effectively pushing us into higher brackets.
When I think about some of the aficionados in there, like Curtis Cloak, one of the biggest retirement guys in the United States, really understands this great. We're looking at everything that's correlated now. It's not independent purchasing, and that's the problem. It's all integrated. It all touches each other. It affects each other. And you just brought up a huge point, effective tax bracket, not marginal, right? Not progressive. It's what's the effective tax bracket after all is said and done.
You know that we wrote some articles, and there's a bit of a firestorm on one of the professional websites over this question of effective tax rates and marginal tax brackets. Because of that, I now try to use the term marginal effective tax brackets. In other words, we create an effective tax rate which is based on income that goes up and down. There's marginal jumps there. Okay, so we start with the basic tax bracket and add additional items on. So I like to use the term marginal effective tax bracket so that we don't confuse people.
And if you want that article, you want to write me, just write steve.savant@ashbrokerage.com. I'll send you that. It was really big. We were on Producer's Web. I threw it all over the website. We did invoke a little anger, but actually it was ignorant anger because they really didn't understand what we were talking about.
Well, it was interesting as we replied to their comments and said, hey, guys, this is how we're looking at it. They said, oh, hadn't really thought about it that way. Yeah, that makes sense. So we got agreement, but initially it was a bit heated. So why not just get agreement from the start?
When we come back from the break, we're going to add on not only our discussions to Roth IRA and the conversion issues that we are into right now that maybe we should have never been into, but now we're talking about more of some of these products that we're talking about that mitigate it through deferral. We'll be right back in 30 seconds. Back in the day, life insurance professionals were called field underwriters. Then, carriers trained their field force in the basics of life insurance underwriting. Today, the insurance industry doesn't educate the agent population as they once did. But now you can have the Informed Risk Guide at your fingertips so you can illustrate a reasonable rate class for your life insurance prospects. Just request your copy of the Informed Risk Guide at downtobusiness.ashbrokerage.com. It's free from Ash Brokerage, the practice enhancement company. Well, welcome back to our second segment. Ken, we've been in this business a long time now. Remember, and I don't want to say this to get into this with Ken now live on our studio, but there was a time when Kenneth wasn't into the life area.
Oh, very much so. I don't mind telling you that I had been burned by a couple of agents, and I didn't really have that light bulb go on until I took my Certified Financial Planning course in life insurance and realized it wasn't the product, it was the people I had dealt with that had treated me poorly.
Once Ken discovered this, he went on a hunt. I think you were on a mission, actually, because you just tore the code inside out. You got into annuities, you got into life, and I'm thinking, I've never seen a CPA so engaged on our side of the practice. It really encouraged me. I want to talk to you about our products. Now, the power of deferral on annuities alone, especially, and just for our discussion, let's quarantine that to non-qualified. Because there's an issue here of basis that everybody keeps leaving out of the equation, and it becomes powerful, especially because most everybody else in the investment land might be paying LIFO, last in, first out, where we're still playing some form of what? If it's amortized over the life of the contract, there could be some little bit of what I call first in, blended out. And I got that from Curtis Cloak, just a little cues to him. First in, he calls it blended out, because you're not really getting it full, it's a blend.
It's interesting. I've looked at a whole lot of articles, Fortune, Forbes, whatever, that just absolutely lambast variable annuities, various types of annuities, deferred annuities. And they always assume the worst case, which is you take it all out at once and pay all this tax. Well, that's insanity, right? We have two types of annuities. We have deferred annuities and we have income annuities. We have two entirely separate tax laws related to. The deferred build up tax deferred, and the income annuities allow us to amortize part of our basis on a straight line basis. That's a big deal. Not an accrual basis, but straight line, which means we get more of our tax basis up front as we take money out. And on time value of money, that is important. So we can put together portfolios of several different deferred annuities from different companies so we don't run into some other rules that we plan somewhere in the future, 5 years, 10 years, 15 years down the road, to turn on the annuitization switch. So we do kind of almost a laddered annuity approach like you would with, say, a CD or bonds. And then we start with, if they need to come immediately, an immediate annuity. So by mixing those assets and blending them or deferring them to future dates and then turning them on a little bit at a time, we can control the flow of taxation. We get a nice, even cash flow that might equal a fully taxable asset, but only a portion of it is included in the tax return.
There's really ways to play with this annuity. And I mean, when you think about what's going on in the deferred income annuity area, the single premium immediate annuity area, some of the indexed withdrawal riders that are on there.
And remember, we have an even newer option, which is what? Annuities with LTC benefits. And guess what? When those benefits come out, are they taxed like a regular annuity? No, they're tax-free under the code.
As long as you're using it for
long-term care, qualified long-term care costs. So there's an even better way, or even taking old annuities, do a tax-free exchange under 1035 to one that has LTC benefits, and now instead of taking distributions to live on, you're taking distributions to take care of your assisted living facility where the LTC benefits start to kick in.
What other things, as we're closing out our segment, you know, we talked about other things. We're just talking about deferral annuities right now. You were talking about other things that are out there too.
Well, life insurance, of course, if managed properly, can be tax-free from start to finish. Owning gold that has no dividends, no interest, whatever, is all pure deferral. You buy it today, you hold it 10 years, you pay no taxes for 10 years, and when you do, it's cap gains and possibly some MAGI consequences, but still it's better than just the straight ordinary income tax, right? And land, raw land, or even developed land that has some deferral in growth is there, as well as mutual funds, of course, and the best versions really are ETFs because they're very static. They don't turn the portfolio. So capital assets, meaning stocks, potentially bonds can have gains, not often, but can have some. Real estate and gold and silver, oil and gas, all these assets that are capital assets can have a deferral component. And of course, IRAs and Roth IRAs have deferral built into them too. So there are other ways to do it. But remember, we have annuities and life insurance, which when managed properly, we can reduce their costs, maximize the returns, maximize the tax benefits if we're smart on how we manage it. And this is where we can teach CPAs something.
Now, I think the managed issue, once you understand, I love your laddering approach. I've seen Ken's retirement issues many times. He has great scenarios. And these are the kind of things that I have to come back and do a workshop on. Honestly, we need to do a workshop on this. But when we're looking at this, these are some ways you say, Steve, how can that mitigate 1040? I just don't understand how that can really help it. But when you think about people in retirement right now, when they need every dime that they can get, I mean, they need cash flow. We used to say, we're teaching net. Now we're teaching, what do I get to keep in my pocket? Right? It's really cash flow.
Yep.
Tomorrow, we're going to break out and manage the issue of life insurance. If it's done right, it's golden. If it's done the way most of the stuff that we see come across our desk, it's really hurtful. We're going to share about how this is done and why it can make a monster impact, especially in the later on in retirement as a supplemental retirement alternative. And maybe for some, depending upon your bracket, maybe that is your retirement. Well, that's our show for today. Remember, before moving forward with any of the ideas on our show, always consult your tax advisor, legal counsel, or your broker-dealer compliance officer. And don't forget, you can watch all our past episodes at downtobusiness.ashbrokerage.com. And remember, you could be wiser as an Ash Brokerage advisor. I'm Steve Savant. We'll see you there.